Hi, she's Trixie and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 115 today. We've been on a bit of a hiatus. We were getting all this work and prep done and just making space to plan and be busy in other things. We were, my mom was specifically getting ready for a surprise birthday party for my father, who celebrated his 60th birthday the end of October. And so, in getting ready for that, she needs some extra time. And
I had a lot of help. It was good. It all turned out really, really good.
Oh yeah, with everyone that was able to help and pitch in, it was great, but it just meant that some things had to kind of not
fall by the wayside for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so with that all being said, we're back up and running. Just as our group community message had said, we would be definitely seeing you guys today. We are excited to share with you what we've been getting done the last couple of weeks since we've last seen you. So I know that you have been working on your blankets for this giveaway that you were getting ready
this benefit,
for.
Yep. And I went beyond the blue and yellow. I didn't have enough blue and yellow to make a queen size Afghan. So I got into my stash and I got out all the skeins that I still had that were full, and it's going to be a true scrappy blanket. But let me show you where I'm at. And Sarah was like, isn't that done yet? And I'm like, I tried it on the bed. My bed is a queen size. I tried it on the bed last night and it is not done yet. It still needs probably another 2.5 feet. I'm allowing for overhang on the sides, overhang on the end as well. And I have one on my bed, and I'm kind of basing it off that one because it works. But yes, I started out with the blues and yellows, and I did a lot of blues and yellows, but then I started to run out. So I had oranges, and then I had different blues and I want to say magenta or maroon. Then I went into the bright reds and the blues, and now I'm in still the red, but it went into black. So yeah, it's just going to be a colorful, scrappy, queen size blanket for whoever donates, or I'm not sure how the benefit's going to work, but for whoever gets it, they're going to have a nice solid blanket. Now it's made out of 2 4-ply yarns at a time, and I'm using a 10mm hook, and it's the half double crochet. So it's thick, it's nice, it's going to be good for winter since winter started yesterday. We here in Michigan have officially had snow.
Yeah.
And we had a whole day of snow yesterday. And when it first started, I didn't think it was going to stick to the ground, and it's still out there. And it was all over the trees when I went to go get Sarah today. It's starting to melt off the trees, but it's still on the ground, and there's still quite a bit out there.
We had, the forecast was like an 8-inch drop. I feel like it might have been a little bit more than that.
It was bad.
It was hours. There was whiteouts. There was so many people
in ditches.
Trees went out. Power went out.
Yep.
It's a snow day, which is why I have littles trying to get my attention, because why are you filming? You should be with us. It's just one of those, it just is. Like, it was funny because normally if we're not able to film, it's for things like this, where it's like a a random Wednesday. Our normal day to film is on Wednesday, so like the random day that we film could possibly just have been affected by something like a happenstance like this. But because we were like, no, we said we were gonna have something out. We're gonna make this work, because the last 2 weeks we kind of used up some of our normal
Snow day.
our normal snow day / grace time for that.
days.
Yeah. So it's
Our personal times.
so it's one of those things where we're just sitting there being like, ah. But yeah, no. It's we have some really hyper kids, so this might not be the longest video, but we will be able to still share with you where we're at. And yes, from what I remember my sister-in-law trying to kind of explain, donations of items are given for the cause of this family who's needing funds. But the way that it will happen is these items will be auctioned off to the highest bidder.
Right.
So donations are requested, but it will be auctioned. So whoever wants the item the most has enough funds to be able to purchase it. Yeah. That's how it's going to kind of create the fundraiser.
Yeah.
So my mom is making homemade items for that cause.
Right.
To help, because that family suffered a very sudden tragedy.
Yeah.
Well, right?
The father, well, the husband and father suddenly died, of a heart condition, and it was unexpected.
Oh my gosh.
Now they are just struggling. So
I can't imagine.
This is where we're at. So I'm trying to help out the best way I know how.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like when you're able to just pitch in little ways. Like, okay, I can do this.
And it was something that I already do, that she was asking me to do. So it was like, yeah, no problem.
I wonder if there's a way to offer frozen meals to the family. Like some pre-made stuff, so that mom doesn't have to be thinking about this stuff.
You know, you can ask him.
I can ask. I can ask her. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, and I'm not trying to compare, but I feel like situations where you either invite a new family member in, where it's like you've either bore a child or have adopted somebody,
or a marriage.
There's a sense of this is so fresh and new that when family or friends come together and just like, here's a couple of frozen meals, or here's a thing of soup or whatever, so you don't have to think about it, so that you're able to focus on what's just happened. Same thing with grieving. Grieving takes time and space and mental energy and an emotional load and physical toll that it's like having some things just done.
And the last thing they're thinking about is fixing food for themselves.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll reach out to Amber and see if there's any way that we could even do something like that too. Depends on what the family needs and wants. So you know, because if the mom's outlet has been cooking, then maybe we just leave that alone.
Yeah,
we'll see. So okay. Where I've been at, I have been trying to get some of my need to do whips done / projects done / just, you know, as my kid just keeps saying yellow in the background. So for one thing, it's been a while since this project's come out, and I realize how scatterbrained I am. Because I realize how many unfinished projects I have. Regardless of whether I have shame about this or not, I have no idea. It's its own complex, okay? I know that I have things I have not finished on this channel. And I know some of you guys who just binge watch our videos back to back to back assume that I will have things done. And I don't.
Well,
but here we are, months later. Look at me, I'm gonna get it done. Like with, you know, the Godzilla, or, you know, the Baby Yoda that's still in my house, or this thing. Okay, backstory. My mother-in-law, it's years now, brought me yarn, and she's like, I saw this yarn at clearance at a store and I like it. Could you make me a blanket or something out of it? And I'm like, with this little bit of yarn, no. And And I didn't mean that in a sarcastic way, just meaning like, depending on how big of a blanket you want to invest in, I'm gonna need more than just this. But I'm also sitting there in the back of my head being like, you got it on clearance, which means that store doesn't plan to hold that yarn anymore.
Right.
Like, just knowing, if you're a crafter, you know. Clearance items are either it's a seasonal yarn that is being done, or it's just, they're not gonna hold it anymore because people haven't been buying it. Okay, thank you, sweetie. And so I'm just sitting there being like, okay, I'm hopeful that it's still even in production. And it was. But my mother-in-law was like, no, I want this. I love this yarn. Now, my mother-in-law has a wool allergy, so wool can't touch her skin. And this looks like a wool yarn. So she likes the look of it, but she can't touch it. But it was acrylic yarn, so she was able to be like, come on something. She gave me full reign over the blanket, and I found this very specific mitered square pattern. I can look it up again and have it be relevant in the story again, because, you know. And I made 12 of these squares over a course of time when I received the yarn. And these are the squares. It's kind of a garter stitch up until it starts kind of having these separated sections of both knitting, and then there's a random purl, and then knitting and a random purl every couple of rows to kind of create this pattern. But as you can see, it goes at an angle because you cast on at this length, and then you decrease on the middle and very specific. I think it was like an every other row situation. And in doing so, you were able to get this square that kind of looks really cool. And it showed off the yarn well. Now, I recognize you can see the spine of the decrease because I didn't do a proper decrease because I was doing these in like mass production, like boom, 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 pushing these out. And so I kind of just gave up on doing the proper decrease and just did a decrease. It's three stitches that become one, and I decided just to knit them together. I know that means you can see it, but I think honestly it'll give the blanket character at the end because I plan to have them all the blankets face, all the squares facing the same direction, where those spines will all be facing the same direction. And I honestly think it will kind of look like peacock feathers, where they fan out with that kind of like that bloom look. Yeah. And so with them all being angled like this, just boxed around each other, it'll kind of give off that kind of like either wings or leaf look, where they're all this very specific fanned out from the middle, kind of going at a V look. And I know that that's going to be satisfying. So I have committed to getting this blanket done by her birthday, because my mother-in-law's birthday is in the middle of November, and I have all the squares done, and I just kind of lost my steam on the blanket. And if I can just now block them so that they're in somewhat of a decent order, I will then border each one of them with a solid color, and then I'll assemble them in whatever order they kind of that fits them best. And then I have leftover of this yarn, and I will reborder the blanket again officially with that, and I will crochet that again. So this blanket will have both knitting and crocheted elements to it, and I think it will turn out really well.
I think it's really pretty.
Yeah, and my mom is going to help me place where the squares should naturally be that will look and complement each other the best, because a lot of the variegates on this square comes and goes at it goes and starts at random points. And so it can sometimes start at the darker end of the variegate or the ombre. Sorry, it's an ombre. or it can start at the lighter end, or it can be, start at the golden end, all those sort of things. And so I kind of want them all to be spaced well, where you're not just having all the dark ones, starting with darks too close together, starting with the blocks that have more of the lighter colors on displays, because like you can see, like this one has a little bit more of the darker colors, where it's like there's only one white patch. But then you have this one that has more white in it, or you have ones that have more gold, more of that brown coppery gold in it. So it's like, no, having them all complement each other in the right spot. I know that my mom has a little bit more practice with, because she makes blankets more often. So I figured after I get them blocked, we'll do that. I'm blocking them at my mom's because they have more room, and with their wood heating stove, it's kind of allowing the wet material to kind of absorb and not absorb, but dry out quicker, so that I can rotate the blocks a little bit faster than what would be in my house. Now these are what I already had, I believe, blocked and bordered. I believe these are already block squares. I don't think that I would have done this before having blocked them.
We're going to do it again though.
Yeah, but I boarded it with this, so like hypothetically this is how it would look. It's kind of curly, but with the weight of the other squares, this yarn's heavy.
Right.
It will flatten out.
Yep.
But this, my husband thought that maybe this grayish kind of like, it's like a white and a black. It kind of looks like a husky dog's coat, a fur, where it's like only black and white strands. They're not gray, but far away it looks gray because of how fine the strands are. But if you can see them close up, it's just black and white strands next to each other and wound together, and it looks pretty. It's a pretty yarn, and again, it's acrylic, because we're having a hard time finding acrylic yarns at this weight of size that isn't just blanket yarn. Because blanket yarn is so popular in this particular, it's like a 5 or 6 weight size. That's not wool.
Yeah.
That's been tricky. Yeah. Amazingly enough, it's been tricky. And I think that this gray is not working. This black-white complemented gray is not working for me. I feel like that clashes too much with the busyness of this ombre. And so I think I'm gonna undo the blocks I already have done, and my husband and I found a black. I think just the solid black will help even it out. I really like this gold, and I almost want that to be the color, but I don't think I'm gonna find a color like that. And honestly, I think the black is gonna be okay. I do believe I have looked on the brand of yarn that this is and tried to find this exact gold in that brand, and I can't remember how successful I was, but I have found the right weight of yarn in black. I think it was at Hobby Lobby. So if I have to do that, I'll do that, kind of stabilize the blocks so that they are all the same size when I hand sew them together. Then, because they're already crocheted ends, I can crochet the border on and officially have this Afghan done.
Yeah.
So me and my mom my mom is helping me with the blocking by offering me the space, and once I get these all bordered, because I only have enough blocking squares to be able to do 3 squares at a time, I will be able to then kind of, these ones are done, I will get them bordered. Oh, these set of 3 are done, I'll get these bordered. I will kind of have like a gradual, kind of like slow working assembly line going, where it will kind of, these squares will be pumping out to me in the right amount of time, with the break of having them wet and needing to dry, to be able to get them done with enough time to be like, okay, now it's done, now we can take the time to get them together. And I'm hoping that by next week me and my mom will have already puzzled it out on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully we'll start getting it sewed together.
And each time you get one of these 3 blocks done, you put the border on.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. And then
it's just
it'll only be 4 sets of having to block it.
Yeah. So it's just an assembly line of getting it done.
And these squares are large. Like,
yeah.
When I blocked it at 18 by 18 inches. Now, it's kind of shrunk on itself, so it's probably more like, visually what you're seeing is probably 17 by 17, that's what it is.
But still.
But that's big. Like, these are, like...
huge.
Yeah, and they're going to make such a cool blanket, and I really hope she ends up liking the choices I made. I already planned on not asking her to pay for me to do this. She kind of gave this project to me
spontaneously?
Yeah, spontaneously, and I have taken time to have to do this, and I already know that it's taken more time than it probably should have, but life is busy, and I just recognize that, things don't always go as planned, and especially when you have little kids and life just happens, you just let it happen. And I know this blanket's getting done this year, and I'm already it's going to be good to have this closure, and it's just going to feel the same way as getting that Godzilla done, where it's like, it took me a long time. There was such a huge pause because there were so many big events happening in my life, and I couldn't focus on this big Argurumi project.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it was like, I have it now. I can get it done. Oh, I get to give this to my nephew, and it's so rewarding. Now, my original gift to my mother-in-law was going to be the Ruana, R-U-A-N-A. It's a wearable design. Look that up, R-U-A-N-A, to be able to get the visual of what it's supposed to look like. And I showed you guys the yarn 2 weeks ago. I haven't gotten a lot done on this. My hand's been extremely dry because of the weather, and I'm trying to find the right cream to work for my hands because my hands have not been enjoying all the perfumed creams and soaps and stuff, and I've had to realize that my skin's is really starting to be allergic to certain things. So I have to start taking a little bit more care and be more self-aware and acknowledge that this allergy might have kind of resurfaced again. I haven't had it in a long time, but I've also been washing my hands more than I normally would. But at the end of the day, with that being said, my hands have been very coarse. Yarn grips to my fingers a little bit more because of all that kind of dead skin and constant, all that stuff.
Yep.
And with my hands kind of cracking and bleeding, I haven't been wanting to craft because I don't want the project to have all that on it.
Right.
But I already showed you what the yarn was. It was a Red Heart Super Saver, right? Yeah, yarn, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was this really cool gray ombre. And I decided on a herringbone stitch. And I am loving how elegant this looks. Just look at that.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
I am doing it in the single crochet herringbone stitch style, so the herringbone stitch is coming out much more obvious. In my personal experience, when I see it, like the half double crochet herringbone, where it's like you might get more of it done at a greater span of time because it's a bigger stitch, so it's gonna go quicker.
Right.
It doesn't always have the same visual look.
Right.
It doesn't have.
You want it to look like that.
It's kind of like when you're doing the fishtail braid. You want the smaller sections to cross over, otherwise it's not going to be as detailed and it's not actually going to execute.
Right.
That's the difference here. When you have the bigger sections in the fishtail braid, it doesn't look as intricate and as elegant as it can as if you take a smaller stitch and just commit. I know that I don't have a lot done, but the reality is I know I'm going to be able to get this blanket to her in time. I will have quite a bit of this done, if not all of it done by then, because I will just turn on my audiobook and get it going. I'll just find a way to moisturize.
If worst comes to worst, you can give it to her for Christmas.
I know. I've already told her I'm making this for her birthday, so my hope is to I give it to her.
Right.
But we'll see, and I have to give myself grace because things like this happens when the snow hits, the air is drier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that just happen. And when life is busy, it just is what it is. And we have to sometimes give grace to ourselves for the projects that just don't, the expectation doesn't happen the way that we want. And so that's where I'm at right now, and I appreciate your grace. I know that you guys have heard all the little pitter-patter of feet. I know you've heard the kids coming up to us on both sides of the camera. With the snow day, they're kind of having the whole stuck inside. They don't have their energy out, so I apologize for how choppy this video might be, but it just...
We're kind of used to it, but
yes,
we're just apologizing for you guys.
I'm hoping that we've been able to string together our sentences as well to be able to execute what we've been trying to say well, but just...
And I have a
this is a great
perfect scripture for today. It says, yes, may you see your children's children. Psalm 128. 6. I'm sorry, but I got Sarah laughing. Okay. Yes, may you see your children's children. Psalm 128:6.
That would have hurt if it came up my nose.
So, I do get to see my children's children, and I appreciate it so much. Maybe not during the filming of videos, but we are dealing with what we have to deal with. And they're actually being a lot better than I thought they were going to be. But we may have to cut this short just in case that turns out not to be so right here at the end. Because I've said it now. I've said it out loud. It could turn on us very quickly.
Oh, something like that happened. Oh, with the snow, with how bad the snow was yesterday, I was on the phone with my husband, and he's like, I already can feel it. There's going to be power outages. And when the first 5 minutes, I felt I saw the lights flickering. And I was like, James, how dare you? I was getting so irrationally upset. And he didn't know what I was talking about because he couldn't see what was going on. And I was like, don't you dare. I'm talking to these inanimate energy flowing through the house. Being like, don't you dare, don't you. And then my kids are just like, who are you talking to? And then all of a sudden the house is like responding because the lights are turning off, they're turning back on. I was like, James, you shouldn't have said anything. Why did you do that? And then all of a sudden kids are like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm trying to talk to it.
I know, mine were flickering yesterday too, but they never completely went off.
Ours did.
Thank goodness. And I'm just like, oh.
Not long.
Yeah.
Not long enough where we were losing any sort of significant power. I don't even think they were fully off for a full minute, but they were off for several seconds, and then they would reboot. And that happened a lot.
She decided not to let Olivia go to school yesterday, which was a good thing, but the buses were even an hour past their time.
Yeah.
And so she would have been sitting at the bus stop for an extra hour.
Yeah, me and my husband had already decided we weren't going to have Olivia go to school for certain reasons outside of the weather. Like, completely outside of the weather. We were just like, oh, we'll just keep her home today. It's okay. We're allowed to have our personal days. We'll figure it out, and then she can just go to school tomorrow. And we're very consistent with her going to school, but it was just one of those, like, let's just have it. It's okay. We're allowed to have these human moments. Yep. We can figure this out, you know. And so we did that, and then all of a sudden the snow just starts dropping, and my kids are like a fish to a cat to a fish tank glass to our big window. Just watching the snow drop. They're just entranced by it, and they were so excited by it. And I was just sitting there just being like, okay, well, it still seems safe, like it's still good. And I'm just getting, and then all of a sudden it's just like, it's just too much. And my husband was gone for hours after getting out of work, like hours, just to be able to get a couple of things done. So, buddy, get down. It's okay. So, all right. Well, our little ones are starting to come into the picture, so I am going to say we're grateful for... No, get down, buddy. Get down.
No, you're not going to see in the camera.
So we're gonna let you go. We are so grateful for anyone who's actually made it to the end with us. As always, we hope that you are having a good, prosperous, cozy time with your crafting, and that you are having a fun time possibly making blankets or wearables or whatever you're making to be able to get nice and cozy this season.
Yeah.
That you are just having some good vibes this season. Like, it feels like so many people are in the crafting spirit, and I hope that we're able to share just where we're at with it, and hoping to spark that joy in you guys. And just as always, it's always so much fun. Like, this is such a central part of our week, and we just love it. So,
Right.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Subscribe, like, tell your friends.
As always, we always enjoy making these videos with you guys, and we hope that you stitch your way
To mental health.